know that saying, hurry up and wait? Well, my friend, September was a little bit of both. Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, and this is my September 2025 wrap-up video. I'm pretty delayed. Sorry about that. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. I'm a composer, now also a booktuber. You can find my music in The Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Materials Season 3, and now for your Grammy consideration in Best Song Written for Visual Media, The Hills of Tenchiko, the featured musical number in The Wheel of Time Season 3, Episode 6. And September was a banger of a month. I didn't get as much reading done as I wanted to. I felt like I was a little scatterbrained in September, with this Grammys campaign impending. Trying to juggle both channels, doing a soft relaunch of my music channel, doing videos for this channel, trying to do read-alongs and stuff like that. It's a lot to kind of take in. So let's talk about it as we always do with the books. So how far did I get? How did I do in my, kind of TBR list? Well, I got a chance to read 3 complete novels, which is really low for me. I usually go for 4 or 5, but that's okay. Busy times dictate my schedule in the end. And I did get a chance to start a couple novels here. I'm just pulling up. So let's jump into them. First of all, I want to talk about the ones that I partially read. And the first one I want to talk about is, of course, part of our channel read-along. And this is Ken Follett's newest book, Circle of Days. Now, the reason why I didn't complete this is it came out on the 23rd of September, so we were only going to read a few pages of this anyways. So far, so good. I am really liking it. As I mentioned in a previous weekly update, it is maybe not the first place to start with Ken Follett, but it is a great story. Characters are pretty compelling. If you don't know, it's about the making of the Stonehenge, kind of a fictionalized story around that, what life might have been 5,000 years ago or some such time period, which we don't know a lot about, hence why some of this stuff is fictionalized, but it's still plausible, Ken Follett has always been a really good researcher, so I feel like this is, indicative of that, even with the sparse knowledge we have of the time. So that is the first one. And if you want to join the read-along, by the way, as of this taping, it's only October 10th. And so, there's still plenty of time to catch up. And this book, even though it looks big, it actually reads really fast, and the I don't know if you could tell, but the writing here is actually not so formidable, so very easy to get into. And Ken Follett knows how to plot and pace his books, so if you're ever thinking about joining a read-along on this channel, now is the time. The next book I want to talk about is another one I partially read, and this one means a lot to me personally because I'm a composer, and I remember going to a sleepover when I was 8 years old at my friend Chad's house in New Jersey where we used to live. And he showed me the wonders of George Lucas's Star Wars. And of course, I was wondering, what is that music? And subsequently, I found out it was by a guy named John Williams. Not sure if you heard of him. He kind of did music for Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Star Wars, Superman, Indiana Jones, Harry Potter, Jurassic Park, Home Alone, E.T., no big deal. So Schindler's List. A list goes on. So he is one of the greats of all time, in my opinion, the greatest of all time. And it talks a lot about his life and also his kind of ancestry and how even his grandfather and father were involved in the budding film industry of the early 1900s as well. So fascinating thing. Fascinating look at a guy's life who is notoriously private. And in fact, he never wanted a biography written about him because he wanted to keep his life private. For no reason than he's just a private individual, And so this book by Tim Grieving is thoroughly researched, and it was done at the blessing of John Williams, which we never thought we were going to get. So it is nice to see something that is given John Williams' seal of approval and is so well researched. And I'm loving it. I'm about 50%, almost 50% of the way through. So it is a bit of a dense read. So I'm taking my time with it, and I think that's the best way to experience this. But John Williams' biography, got to check it out. Now, the next one I want to talk about is a read-along that I've been doing with a bunch of friends who are, and I'm probably going to forget someone, I, Samwise, it's a long list, I, Samwise, Jake from Nerd Level Rising, Four Corners of a Page, David, Philip Chase, Dr. Fantasy himself, all run by the wonderful Shay from Zachary Shay. And Preacher Reads, of course, Preacher Reads, who's another favorite channel of mine, and we both love horror and we both love Stephen King, so, you know, preaching to the choir here. And we had a great discussion about that book, A Drowned Kingdom, which is the first book of P.L. Stewart's Drowned Kingdom saga. Now, what did I think about this book? If you want to see a little bit more in depth, you can look at that read-along video. It was quite a fun video chatting with those gentlemen, the Booktube brethren. And, you know, all in all, I did like it. I did feel like it could have been better for my taste. There was a lot of info dumping that I found hard to kind of swallow, I guess you could say, although it was very useful for the rest of the novel. The main character is detestable, but understandably so, and I think I can already see him evolving as a person, so I'm excited to see what book 2 holds. But, you know, it wasn't the best book I've ever read, but it was a good start, and I'm excited to hopefully see it reach to new heights on the second entry. I've heard that the books keep getting better as they go. And P.L. Stewart just seems like such a lovely guy. Like, I remember when I first heard about him was actually when he was going back and forth commenting on Twitter, on X, with Philip Chase. And I was like, this guy just seems like such a cool guy. I got to check out his books. And, you know, it's always better to read with friends, right? So it's been fun reading with my Booktube brethren there and tackling this series. So we're going to be reading the second one, I believe, in November. So get ready for that. But exciting times all around. Now, the other two books that I got a chance to finish are both actually in this beautiful volume by Edith Pargeter, an author that very few people know, but everyone should read. This is one of those, I would say she's the most underrated author I've ever read, and her prose is like a Jenny Wirtz, Guy Gavriel Case style, but the characterization have this kind of grounded, almost like visceral feeling of a John Steinbeck. I don't know how to best describe it than that. That's how I perceive it anyways. This is a 3-book omnibus starting with the Heaven Tree, then it's the Green Branch, and then it's the Scarlet Seed. So I read Green Branch and Scarlet Seed with my cohorts, Jenny Wirtz, the legendary fantasy author of The Wars of Light and Shadow and so many other novels. It was her idea, and Jake from Nerd Level Rising and I decided to rise to the challenge and see if this was, you know, worth checking out. And one book quickly became 3, so you obviously know how I feel about it. And they just kept getting better. I loved the first one. I thought actually nothing would top it. Then somehow the Green Branch topped that. And then I was like, okay, come on, it can't get much better than that. And then Scarlet Seed goes to places I never would have expected. I mean, the foil in this book, the antagonist, their arc is probably top 3 most interesting antagonist arcs I've ever read in a novel or seen in a show ever, period. Like, I'm talking about period, full stop. I have never seen anything like it. I've never seen an antagonist and the themes around that. I don't want to say what those themes are because I would spoil something for you. But the themes around that, I've never seen expressed the way it is in this. And I feel like Harry Talvachi's character arc from book 2 to book 3 and how much he grows as a person. And, you know, again, it's the idea of like doing what's right even when it's hard. I think that's really a theme in the series. And it, of course, also tackles the idea of artistic integrity as well as moral and spiritual integrity. And it's done with just such a deft hand. I mean, this is going to go down as one of my reads of the year. I just get this feeling. Nothing has had quite an impression on me as this has this year. So, needless to say, I was pretty happy with it. So, what is my book of the month? I mean, I only read 3, so it was a pretty easy decision, and that was Scarlet Seed, the grand finale, the conclusion to this omnibus here. Each book is like 200 to 300 pages, so quick reads, but man, it packs a punch. And so much happens in Scarlet Seed too. Right up to the end, you're guessing how it's going to end, not because things are being thrown in there randomly, but because they're being done so purposefully and yet still defying expectations of what you would expect a character arc to go and also where the antagonist would go. I mean, this is God tier writing to me. I know Jake feels the same. I know Jenny feels the same because she is the one who graciously recommended it to us. So I will say, I will be going with whatever Jenny recommends next because frankly, I am in it. Like, give me all the underrated books. I am in, you know? So fantastic book if you haven't checked it out. What are you waiting for? The link's below. Check it out. Stop everything. Stop the presses. Stop what you're doing. Stop your TBRs. Just throw it out the window and just read this because, you know, I just said so. No, but honestly, read it. I think you would really enjoy it. This is historical fiction, but I mean, fantasy readers have and will continue to enjoy this for the reasons I mentioned. So, great book. Book of the month for sure. Let's talk a little bit about the channel itself. It was a little bit of a lighter month, but not that much lighter actually, somehow. I still managed to release, in addition to having such a busy schedule, I managed to release 10 videos, and I did 3 live streams. So let's talk about the videos first. The top videos were, and in this order, the October TBR, because everyone loves a good spooky season, right? And everyone wants to know what's going to happen. What are you going to read in spooky season? It's the most thematically cohesive month, I think, for reading, right? And it's always a good excuse to read good horror books. And as a guy who's just a Stephen King fan right here through and through, I've been wanting to explore new horror authors. So been doing a lot of that actually this month. Check that video out if you haven't already, and you'll see some of those picks. The second one is also kind of Halloween-y themed, and it was the top 10 scariest Stephen King villains. Didn't see too many videos about this, and I'm always trying to find Stephen King or adjacent content that would be something slightly different. And I talk about villains that, you know, are iconic in their own right, and ones that deserve to be, but just because Stephen King has written so many iconic villains, they've maybe fallen off the radar of very casual fans of Stephen King, but any real fan knows, you know. So you could check that out up here if you'd like. And then the third video was the Circle of Days official channel read-along announcement, kind of how the format of it's going to go. We have a small group, and the small group has actually allowed for more conversation. So if you want to check that out, you could check it out up here, and more conversations to come as we make our way further through the book. You guys, I had to do a quick cut in here because I realized I forgot to talk about the live streams I was a part of. So as I had mentioned already, you know, I was a part of the Booktube Brethren Drowned Kings overview of the first book, A Drowned Kingdom, and we had a blast talking about that. But the other 2 live streams I want to talk about, one being with Shrikant from the Nostalgic Dragon. Now, Shrikant, if you don't know, is a fabulous booktuber, a very thoughtful booktuber who's very into Malazan, and he has also interviewed Ian Esselmont, Stephen Erickson, and of course Dr. Philip Chase, some great authors on his channel, and he has a very thoughtful, meditative look at fantasy. And we did a talk about fantasy and music, and how those 2 things could converge, how one can inform the other, and of course about my work on the Wheel of Time and all sorts of things. So if you want to check that out up here. Lovely guy, and I just love the way he has a different take on Booktube. So if you're looking for something a little different, check out Shrikant's channel. It's fantastic. And the second one I want to talk about is one actually I was super excited to be invited to be a guest on, because Joanna from Joanna Reads is one of my favorite channels on Booktube. Again, a very thoughtful booktuber, very intentional with their reading, and she always talks about theme and character in a way that is seldom deeply explored on Booktube. You know, I think her, Dr. Philip Chase, AP Canavan, there are a few booktubers that really are eloquent and articulate about what they read, because they take their time with it to really explore and digest what they're reading. And so Joanna invited me on her channel for her Why Read segment, which is, you know, she pairs up a few booktubers or a couple booktubers together and talks about, you know, why reading is such an important part of our lives. And then the conversation goes from there, you know. And I was very excited to be a guest along with Sylvia from Library Unbounded, which I hadn't heard of her channel before this. And I was very glad that this allowed us to come together and chat, because we chatted for like 2 hours. And I believe we could have chatted for a lot more. And I hope that happens again, because they are just 2 wonderful people, and it just felt so easy, you know. It's nice when that happens. So definitely check that out up here if you haven't. And yeah, that's one of my favorite things about Booktube, honestly, is like we all get to have great conversations with each other, and the conversation goes where it will, you know. And it's always different, because the people are different, the people in the chat are different, the setting of kind of what we're talking about is different. So yeah, it's always a blast. And, you know, Joanna, thank you so much for having me. You know, you're definitely one of my favorite channels, and it's a thrill. It's an honor to be, you know, included on your prestigious Why Read segment. Let's talk a little bit about the music front, because as I mentioned, it is a doozy this month. Now, Hurry Up and Wait, I kind of alluded to in the cold open there, is, a lot of hurrying up this month in terms of the Grammy stuff, and also preparing for a couple festivals things I'm going to mention in a second, but a lot of waiting too. There were contracts that I was supposed to be working, on getting finished so that I could get started on projects that kind of got pushed. And, that happens. And then that just means everything's going to converge at once. And the hours are going to be long, and the days are going to feel too short. But that's okay. That's why we do it, right? We get the rush from not having enough time to finish. But that's okay. So Hills of Tenchiko is officially submitted for the Grammys. Best Song Written in Visual Media. If any of you happen to be fellow Grammy voting members, please consider it, and thank you. And it's been great. I'm very glad that Sony submitted the song, because I feel like, just as a fellow fan, I mean, if I was to completely just look at it from an outsider's perspective, it was heartening to see how much fans felt like it did justice to the novels. And that's what I wanted to capture how I feel reading those books, right? So that's like the ultimate compliment. Honestly, bigger than any Grammy or anything like that. Like, it's more important to me to have fans like it as much as they do, and it's translated into the streaming numbers. So Hills of Tenchiko has passed 1 million streams now, and like I think 2 million TikTok, user generated content and shares and things. So it's absurd. I mean, I never would have expected, a niche for popular culture, niche fantasy thing, adaptation get that much love, and for this song to get love. And Sony saw that, so they submitted it. So a lot of it is emailing, outreach, going to events. I was going to 2 events a night at times, and so exhaustion, a lot of exhaustion. My eyes feel a little bit more bleary-eyed than usual, as one often does, but it is almost over. Voting is going to end next week, so just a bit further, and fingers crossed for that. And then the last piece of news is a film that I worked on. I had mentioned actually in a couple weekly updates, weekly reading roundups in previous months, that I had done my first co-producing of a film, a horror film called The Conduit. Now, this is a proof of concept feature, like a short film proof of concept for a feature, and I scored it as well, and it got selected to go to Film Quest in Utah. So our team is flying over to Utah, actually driving over to Utah, and we're going to spend a few days there at the festival end of the month. So that should be fun. And it's going to play on Halloween night. So how cool is that? Horror movie, Halloween night. What could go wrong, right? So it's going to be a fun time. Very excited about that. But that was kind of the news that I got in September. So very excited about all those things. How was your month? Did you read any cool things? Anything interesting happened to you? Did you travel anywhere? Let me know, because we're all friends here and we always love hearing about each other's things, right? I mean, I know a lot of people who read and reply to each other's comments in the comment section. And that's what I always wanted to do, is create a community. So I appreciate you being here. Appreciate you being an integral part. And I appreciate you bearing with me for a little bit lighter weeks here and there as I struggle to balance everything all at once. But I just want to leave you with one thing, and I've been doing this every month for the last few months, and people seem to really resonate with it, and that is my lesson learned segment. And that's just kind of like, hey, we read, we point a mirror at ourselves, we try to improve in life, and if I learn anything through my own experiences, I try to pass it forward, and people seem to like it, so I'll keep it going as long as people want to watch it. But my lesson for this day, for this last month, for September, is, you can't do everything, but if you show up every day, then it becomes something. I think we always underestimate like what we could do in a decade, but we always overestimate. Yeah, we underestimate what we could do in a decade, but we overestimate what we could do in a year. And I've found that sometimes you show up and you're at 20% and you just feel like you can't do more than that, but you showed up. And then the next day you show up and you show up again. And I've found that those small actions of showing up are actually more important than succeeding every time that you show up to do the thing. Whatever that may be, a creative project, a venture, your work, your life, whatever it is, I've found that to be true. And that's a really good lesson to learn. So I wanted to pass that forward. I'm Nick here with Shelf-Esteem. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. As always, I will see you in October with more videos. Take care.